The fence had been built to hold animals, not people, and it showed, in the way the wire cut into her wrists every time she shifted her weight. Rust flaked against her skin, mixing with blood and sweat. The sting sharp enough to keep her awake when exhaustion begged her to sink. Her arms were pulled high, shoulders burning, toes barely touching the ground. Every breath tugged at the knots biting into her flesh. She had stopped crying a long time ago. Crying had only made it worse. The yard stretched wide and bare under the sun. A patch of dirt and trampled grass that offered no shade, no mercy. Flies buzzed lazily around her, landing where tears had dried on her cheeks, where a split lip had crusted dark. Her dress hung in tatters, one sleeve torn clean away, the hem streaked with dust from when they had dragged her across the ground and laughed about how stubborn she was. The fence post behind her leaned slightly, old and splintered, groaning when the wind pushed against it. It felt like it might give way at any moment, but it didn't. Nothing ever did when she needed it to. Her in-laws lingered near the porch, far enough away that they didn't have to look at her too closely. They sat in the shade, sipping water she wasn't offered, talking in low voices that carried just enough for her to hear. "She'll remember this," her mother-in-law said, her tone clipped and satisfied. "Pain teaches faster than kindness." The girl lifted her head at that, jaw trembling despite her effort to stay still. Her throat burned with thirst, her tongue swollen and dry. She wanted to spit at the woman's feet. She wanted to scream. Instead, she stayed silent. Silence, at least, was something they couldn't take from her. The father-in-law shifted in his chair. "Shouldn't leave her out too long." "She's not dead," the woman replied. "Don't be dramatic." The girl closed her eyes, focusing on the sound of the wind moving through the dry grass beyond the yard. She imagined it carrying her somewhere else. Anywhere else. That was when she heard it. Hoofbeats. At first, she thought it was another trick, her mind reaching for hope the way a drowning person reaches for air, but the sound grew steadier, closer. A horse, moving at an unhurried pace, each step deliberate. Her eyes flew open. Dust rose beyond the fence line as a rider crested the low rise bordering the property. Sunlight flashed against metal, stirrups, a belt buckle. The horse was dark and powerful, its head held high, ears forward as if it already sensed something was wrong. The men on the porch noticed the rider then, voices faltering. The father-in-law stood, shading his eyes with his hand. "Who's that?" The rancher rode straight toward the yard, reins loose in his grip. He didn't rush. He didn't slow. He carried himself like a man who didn't need permission to exist anywhere he chose. The girl's heart began to pound, fear and hope tangling painfully in her chest. She barely dared to breathe. The rider stopped a short distance from the fence, his horse snorting softly as it took in the scene. The rancher didn't speak right away. His gaze moved slowly, from the rope to the girl's wrists to her face. He took in the bruises, the way her shoulders shook with effort, the way she held herself rigid as if refusing to break in front of witnesses. Something hardened in his eyes. "This is private land," the father-in-law called out, forcing authority into his voice. The rancher swung down from his saddle in one smooth motion. His boots hit the ground with a quiet finality that made the yard feel suddenly smaller. "Untie her," he said. It wasn't a shout. It didn't need to be. The mother-in-law laughed sharply. "You don't know what she's done." The rancher took a few steps closer, stopping just out of reach of the fence. "I know what you're doing." "She's family," the father-in-law snapped. "You don't interfere in family matters." The rancher's eyes never left the girl. Up close, she could see that his expression wasn't wild or reckless. It was controlled, deliberate, far more dangerous than anger. "No one treats family like this," he said. The brother-in-law stepped forward, trying for bravado. "You think you can just take her?" The rancher finally turned his head, fixing the man with a calm, assessing stare. His hand rested casually on his belt, close to the worn handle of a revolver that looked like it had been used and cleaned often. "I'm not asking," he said. "She comes with me." The words settled into the yard like a weight. The mother-in-law's face twisted. "She belongs here." The rancher stepped to the fence. Gently, almost reverently, he tested the wire at the girl's wrists, careful not to pull. "No one belongs tied to a post," he said. He drew a knife from his boot and cut the rope in one clean motion. The sudden release sent fire through her arms. She cried out as her legs buckled, strength vanishing all at once. Before she could collapse, the rancher caught her, one arm firm around her back, the other steadying her weight. He smelled of leather and dust and something solid and real. "I've got you," he murmured, low enough that only she could hear. Her body shook violently now, sobs tearing free no matter how hard she tried to stop them. She clutched his coat, fingers digging in like she was afraid he might disappear if she let go. "You'll regret this," the father-in-law said, voice tight. The rancher straightened, supporting her easily. "You touch her again," he said calmly, "and regret will be the last thing you worry about." He lifted her onto the horse, moving slowly, giving her time to adjust, to find balance. She winced but nodded when he asked if she could hold on. Then he mounted behind her, one arm secure around her waist, the other guiding the reins. As the horse turned away, she looked back once. The house stood exactly as it had before. The fence still leaned, cruel and unchanged. But it no longer held her. The rancher didn't look back. He rode toward open land, toward a horizon washed clean by light. She leaned into him, exhausted, aching, but free. And for the first time since the ropes had bitten into her skin, she believed she might survive.